Sai Ram. Welcome to the 112th edition of Samarpan, an offering of the alumni at the lotus feet of Bhagwan Baba. Today, our speaker is Dr. Ravi. As we battle the corona pandemic, his talk and his timely words of wisdom will help us a lot in sailing through these tough times. Faith is the essential key. Dreams can always become realities. Now I would request Dr. Ravi to address the gathering and the online session of the Samarpan. Welcome, Dr. Kabir.
Swami, take my hand. Jesus, take my hand. Dear Lord, take my hand and lead the way. I'll never forget you, you'll always be with me. Dear Lord, take my hand and lead the way. Your guide and protector, mother and father. Dear Lord, take my hand and lead the way. Teach me loving service, peace and contentment. Dear Lord, take my hand and lead the way. On behalf of all those who are watching us via the webcast and all the spiritual aspirants, I offer our humble koti pranams at our dear Lord, Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. I pray for his blessings to all in all the worlds. We all need to say an extra prayer to Bhagwan to get past the corona virus and to learn to live with it. Please, Swami, give us strength to survive this pandemic. I'd like to thank Swami and the Samarpan organizers for giving me an opportunity to share my Sai experience with you all. As Swami has said many times, it is not possible to describe him. It's only possible to experience him. Sai is in you, above you, besides you, behind you, in front of you, ahead of you, and all around you. 70 years ago, my parents met Bhagwan in Bangalore for the first time. I thank Swami for allowing my father and mother for bringing me and our family to his lotus feet at Puttaparthi. Journey to Puttaparthi from Bangalore was not an easy affair back then. You had to take a train, go from Bangalore to Penugonda, and the train used to arrive in Penugonda around midnight, and we used to sleep in the train station, catch the first bus around 6 a.m. in the morning to Bukkapatnam, and from Bukkapatnam bus stand we had to take a bullock cart to go to the nearest crossing point of Chitravati River. And the Chitravati River water was waist high for a 5'5" person, and we used to sit on our parents, my father's shoulders, and cross the river. And the best part of the whole journey was Swami used to stand on the other side of the river banks and smile at us, and he used to pick up our luggage and carry us sometimes with him. These are our parents. My father, Dr. Chandar, is a dentist, and my mother, Srimati Ratnama. This is how Swami used to carry. I don't know if this picture is mine, but it is something similar to this. Swami used to carry us from the Chitravati River to the old mandir. On February 7th, 1964, Swami conducted the first Upanayanam at Prashanti Nilayam. My father was given an opportunity to serve in this big episode. He was instructed to buy all the materials needed for the Upanayanam for about 50-60 people, 60 young boys. And we all went to Puttaparthi on the 7th, before the 7th of February. A bus was arranged by my father, and we all went to Puttaparthi a week ahead. We pitched a tent behind the Prashanti Nilayam. that time the Prashant Nilayam building was built, and right now where the current shoe stand is there, that's where we pitched our tents, and we slept there, ate there, and everything. My grandmother cooked for about 20 people in our family, and every day we had Swami's darshan. On the seventh previous day, all the boys were assembled in a line, and Swami was distributing the dhoti and the panchapatras to the prospective vadus. We were not included in this, as we had not planned to get our Upnayanam done by Swami. When everything was done, Swami looked at my father and said, "Chandar, where is your sons?" So my father, in a manner, replied, "Swami, we did not check if their horoscope is good, and we didn't plan for it. And next we did not register our names with Professor Kasturi Garu." Swami said, "Bhagavan is himself performing the Upanayanam. Why do you have to worry about horoscopes? Bhagavan has all control of the nakshatras in his hands." So instructing my father, both of us, my brother and myself, stood in the line, and he instructed my two uncles also to come and join the line for the Upanayanam. After the Upanayanam was done, Swami, after Shivratri was done, the Swami came to Vrindavan for the summer. We were fortunate that Swami visited us during the summer at our home. I had the opportunity to do Mangalarati for Swami. He also visited several times to our place, and one of the visits was when my sister got married in 1968. He came around 11 o'clock at night and blessed the couple. Bhagavan is like your father, your mother, your friend. He will respond to you in whichever manner you look at him. In 1970, when I was in first year BDS dental course in Manipal, I returned home because I was not able to take the exam on that year. I was afraid my father will scold me. So I told my father as soon as I came that I was not able to take the exam because of the attendance problems. And my father usually would have been mad at me, but he was very calm and quiet. And he says, "Okay, what do you want to do now?" First thing I told him was I want to go to Puttaparthi. So I took the bus and went to Puttaparthi. I stayed there all by myself for about 2 weeks. During that time, Puttaparthi Prashant Nilayam Mandir was undergoing the temple renovation project. So I joined the group to haul sand from Chitravati river to the Mandir site. After 2 weeks, Swami was very kind enough to grant me an interview, along with about 15-20 of the Tibetans who had come to have Swami's darshan also. And Swami materialized a ring and put it on my finger. I told Swami that I was not interested in going back to dental school, as the environment in Manipal was not very pleasant. But Swami insisted that I should go back and finish my dental course. So I did. I finished my dental college in 1973, graduated from dental school, became a dentist. And as directed by Swami, I came back to Bangalore. I had a dream. I wanted to go to US, United States of America. I had applied for visa in Chennai. At that time it was called Madras, in the American consulate, and it got rejected. I applied almost 4 times, and all 4 times it got rejected. My mother and myself went and consulted a Nadi astrologer in Bangalore. And the astrologer immediately said who I was, what was my profession, and he told me on my face. He said, you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to leave your father's house. You're not going to America, or you're not going to any other place other than where you're going to stay in your father's place. I was really upset. We came home and I told my father that I want to go to Puttaparthi. So my mother and myself left for Puttaparthi. We stayed for a week. And Swami was always, like always, he was very kind to us. He gave us an interview and I told him that I want to go to US. Swami said, no, you cannot go to US because you know you cannot go. Swami knew what the astrologist visit that we had made, and hence he insisted that I cannot go and I should not go. But I kept insisting that no, Swami, I want to go. Finally, Bhagavan came in and said, okay, you get married, then I will send you to America. So it all happened so quick that we came back to Bangalore and we found an alliance. In February 25th of 1975, I got married in Shimoga. In 1977, I got my visa to US and I went to US. I joined a postgraduate program and I finished my post-graduation in pediatric dentistry and general anesthesia. And I opened my own office in 1983 in the Syracuse, New York area. This all happened because I persisted and I had a dream that I should go to America and that I should practice in the US. Everybody was against me going to US because they said it is impossible for you to get a license to practice dentistry. But I had faith in Swami and Swami helped me in this way. So finally in 1983, I started my own office and started practicing dentistry. My next dream was to play a small role in building the super specialty hospital in 1991 at Puttaparthi. I tried very hard. I contacted so many people and everybody said, no, you can't do it. You don't know what you're doing, blah, 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 and all that stuff. But finally, before the hospital opened on 1991, November, we had an opportunity that we were asked to furnish the blood bank refrigerators and freezers for the hospital. Our family was involved in this totally. We bought the refrigerators and blood bank freezers and shipped it from US to India. We continued to be small sevaks in Sai Mission. Our family again came together during the construction of the super specialty hospital in Whitefield. My next dream was the expansion of the Satya Sai General Hospital. Satya Sai General Hospital at that time was seeing almost 1,200 patients a day. The existing small building back then was very small and patients used to lie on the veranda. They didn't have enough rooms. So I requested Swami many times that we should add another 40,000 square feet to the hospital so people can be comfortable and the beds can be inside the room, not in the veranda. Swami kept on postponing things and never gave permission until 2006. He said, okay, you can start your construction. But unfortunately, for whatever reasons, it got postponed and it never materialized. My final dream was that I should come back to Puttaparthi and serve at his lotus feet along with my wife. After staying in the US for nearly 40 years, it finally came true in 2015. We arrived in Bangalore, stayed with our mother until she merged with Swami. We then moved to Puttaparthi. Today, with Bhagwan's grace, I was given an opportunity as the head of dental department at Satya Sai General Hospital. Due to my age and as coronavirus hit the whole world, the hospital authorities and the Central Trust made a decision that people who are above 65 should consider early retirement. So in that respect, I took an early retirement from the hospital, but I still go to the hospital now and then and consult with patients. Currently, the General Hospital Dental Clinic is undergoing renovation to bring it up to standards for the COVID regulations. Life is a dream. It was my dream. There will be a lot of hurdles on the way, but your faith in Swami will finally make your dream come true. In 1991, when the super hospital was being built in Puttaparthi, Mr. Indulal Shah visited US. Before that, visited US, came to our Sai Center in Syracuse. He spoke about the project. That is when I contacted him about the blood bank refrigerators. He gave permission to get the freezers and the refrigerator ordered. We did that. At the same time, I met a devotee from Connecticut who was very much in the same thought of mine, Mr. Ramesh Wadhwani. He and me and three other people joined together to form a trust called Prashanti Trust and registered it in USA. This is a non-profit organization in US. The benefits are anybody who donates money to the Prashanti Trust can get a tax deduction in US. We and our charter had made a recommendation that any humanitarian projects will be supported from like-minded voluntary donations from the people in US. Prashanti Trust, Swami picked the name as Prashanti Trust. He signed our bylaws and gave us permission to function in US. Our trust has participated in many humanitarian works around the globe. We joined hands with Satya Sai International Organization in equipping the dental and medical relief camps in Philippines in October of 2014. We played a small role in the water project in Peru, partnered with Sai Organization in Sri Lanka, relief work after tsunami. We partnered with Satya Sai Central Trust, organizing the relief works in Gujarat, Kerala, Orissa, Nepal. As recently, Prashanti Trust teamed up with Sai organizations from Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra in seva activities due to the corona pandemic. As I told you before, in 2006, Swami gave us permission to expand the general hospital. But for some reason, it was on the back burner. In 2013, Mr. V. Srinivasan, the trustee from Central Trust, visited the US. In his talk to the devotees of Satya Sai organization in US, he mentioned that they are considering expanding the general hospital and they are looking for some people to volunteer the project. So I took this opportunity, met with Mr. Srinivasan and talked to him, and I gave him the details as what had transpired before with Swami. And later on, I met Mr. Srinivasan during birthday time in 2013, discussed it with the trust. And today, with Prashanti Trust participation and the devotees from US, we were able to furnish and build a new outpatient block in Satya Sai General Hospital in Puttaparthi. The outpatient block consists of 40,000 square feet. It houses the outpatient for medical medical units, female medical units, and wards for the male and female medical units, and all the outpatient clinics like the ophthalmology, ENT, dental, and podiatry, full X-ray equipment is there. And it became very comfortable for the doctors to have their own consulting rooms so that they didn't have to sit in the veranda to consult. and also the patient's confidentiality was maintained. As I told you before, my friend Dr. Wadhwani and our team of trustees have taken a lead role in Swami's humanitarian products all over the world. We believe in educating the devotees and non-devotees in US as to what Swami's projects are about and how it can help transform a human being into a good person. By serving the society, the person can modify or modify himself into a better person. So one of the thought we had was the art of giving. You know, rivers don't drink their own waters, trees don't eat their fruits, rain clouds don't eat the grains that they grow. The wealth of the noble is used solely for the benefit of the others. Even after accepting that giving is good, then one must learn to give. Several questions need to be answered. When should one give? We all know a famous incident in Mahabharata. Yudhishthira was approached by a beggar seeking alms, and Yudhishthira very boldly said, "Today is not a good day, you come tomorrow, I will give it to you." Listening to this, his brother Bhima, who was standing next to him, laughed at Yudhishthira and said, "My brother has conquered death." For he was sure that he will be around tomorrow to give. Yudhishthira gets the message and he gives alms to the beggar. So nobody knows whether we are going to be here tomorrow or not. So when you want to give, you have to give it today, right now. The question arises, how much to give? As the Hindu scripture says, you need to have 40% for the family's expenses, for food and rent, 20% for the children's education, 10% for your retirement, 10% for charity, and another 10% you leave for your kids. This Swami told us one day when we were sitting in the veranda. He said Hindu scripture is mentioned this because one of my friends who was sitting next to me in the veranda was a Muslim Islamic person from Canada. He asked Swami, Christianity says we have to give 10% to charity, and Islam says the same thing. Then Swami mentioned this to all of us sitting down there, and he told us this is what the Hindu scripture says. The question is how much to give is. Give as much as you can. Give until it hurts. Then what to give? It's not only money that you want to give. It could be a flower or even a smile. It is not how much one gives, but how one gives what really matters. When you give a smile to a stranger, that may be the only good thing he received in days and weeks. You can give anything, but you must give with your whole heart. Many times we avoid giving by finding fault with the person who is seeking. However, being judgmental and rejecting a person on the presumption that he may not be the most deserving is not justified. Give without judgment. How to give? Coming to the matter of giving, one has to ensure that the receiver does not feel humiliated, nor the giver feels proud by giving. Swami always says, let not your left hand know your right hand gives. Charity without publicity and fanfare is the highest form of charity. And give quietly. While giving, let not the recipient feel small or humiliated. After all, what we give never belonged to us. We came with nothing, we live with nothing. The thing gifted was only with us for a temporary period. Then why take pride in giving away something which really did not belong to us? Give with grace and a feeling of gratitude. What should one feel after giving? We all know the story in Mahabharata about Ekalavya. Ekalavya wanted to be a disciple of Dronacharya, who was teaching the Pandavas and the Kauravas the art of the warfare and everything. So Ekalavya learned secretly the art of all these things, the archery. So Dronacharya caught him one day and says, "Who are you?" And henceforth, then Dronacharya demanded Guru Dakshina from Ekalavya, his right thumb. Ekalavya, without any hesitation, cut off his right thumb and gave it to Dronacharya. After this, somebody asked Ekalavya, "Did you ever regret giving your thumb away?" Ekalavya said, "The only time I regretted was I could not save my Guru Dronacharya when he was being deceived and killed by Arjuna." The message is very clear to us. Give and never regret giving. How much should we provide to our children? Ask yourself, are we taking away from them the gift of work, a source of happiness? The answer is given by an entrepreneur, a big industrialist, and an investor, Mr. Warren Buffett. He says, "Live your kids enough to do anything, but not enough to do nothing." Sant Kabir also says the same thing. When wealth in the house increases, it's like water filling the boat, sinking boat. Throw them out with both hands. This is the wise thing to do. Let us practice the art of giving. A smile is a curve that sets everything straight. As I mentioned to you before, I had a dream and to settle down in US. We were there in US along with our family, my wife and 3 kids. 3 kids are all well educated and they are still staying in US. We were there from 1977 to 2015, almost 37, 38 years, and we returned to India. We frequently go to United States to visit our children, and we did go to United States in August of last year, 2019, for our son's wedding. The wedding finished in October, and my health was not all that great. I was able to manage because my daughter lived in the 3rd floor without any elevators, so I had to climb the stairs, but I was able to manage. After the wedding, during the wedding, the day before the wedding, I had a mild heart attack and I passed out. So I was admitted in the emergency room for observation, and the doctors checked everything and they couldn't find anything wrong. Finally, they suggested that I should get more investigations done the next day. But next day was my son's wedding, and I told the doctors that I would like to get it done when I go back to Puttaparthi in the next couple of weeks. So the doctor reluctantly said, I'll discharge you against my advice. I signed the papers, finished the wedding next day, and in a week's time we were back in Bangalore. The taxi driver picked us up and we were heading towards Puttaparthi. I was still having a lot of discomfort in my chest, and I just prayed to Swami, saying that, Swami, you take care of it. So as we reached the Ganesh circle in Puttaparthi, we had the AC going on in the car. As we reached the Ganesh circle, there was a big gust of wind that blew on my chest. The windows were all closed, but the AC was going on. So this wind hit my face and my chest, and all my discomfort disappeared. I thank Swami for giving me another life to work under his mission. When we were in States, one of my dream was, I had a dream that Swami came in my dream and said, don't do anything, just go back to Puttaparthi and get your heart checked in my hospital. So keeping this in mind, we landed in Puttaparthi, stayed there for a day, and as my brother Dr. Sundaresh insisted that I come to Whitefield for the checkup, and came to Whitefield. And the cardiologist, she did the echocardiogram and the necessary tests and said, your echocardiogram and EKG and everything looks great. It was the same 3 years ago that you had here done. So there's nothing to worry about. So continue whatever seva you're doing in the hospital. So if you have faith in Swami, he will take care of you. Only thing is you have to have faith. You have to trust him that he will take care of you when you need it. I would like to say thanks once again to our dear Lord Bhagwan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba, for his blessings, for his grace, and thank the organizers of Samarpan Vrindavan for giving me an opportunity to share my experience with you all. This is the Prashanti Trust bylaws document, which was signed by Bhagwan. And this is the Prashanti Trust founding members. Unfortunately, I was not there because I didn't make a visit along with Mr. Wadhwani and Harshal Desai. This is the building site that the new OPD block was going to be constructed. This is during the construction. And this is the dental clinic that was done. We furnished with 3 new chairs with the most sophisticated modern equipment, just like what we used in US. And we did a Narayan Seva in the hospital. We distributed clothes and to the staff. And this is the camp in Philippines that I attended under the Sathya Sai International Organization in US, from US. And Prashanti Trust partnered with them. And just to give you a background, the Philippines suffered a very big tsunami, a storm that wiped out half of Philippines. And Sathya Sai organization, international organization, took up the project to redevelop the disaster areas, and they conducted medical dental camps. They opened schools for the people in that area called Takaban. And this is also one of the projects of Prashanti Trust. Mobile clinic, hospital, medical and dental clinic was offered to Bhagwan to be served in the Sathya Sai organization in Karnataka, in the Karwar, North Karnataka district area. This is my family. You see Dr. Sundaresh, my mother and Swami in the mandir inside. This was our Sai Center in Syracuse, New York. We had a big basement in our office building, and basement was converted into a Sai Center, which was about 1,500 square feet. But to share an experience with you guys, I had four rooms built for 4 chairs in my clinic, but I had furnished only 3 chairs, 3 rooms with 3 chairs. So I wanted to donate a dental chair to Puttaparthi. So I had ordered all the dental chair and equipment to be shipped to Puttaparthi, which was all 220 volts in current, electricity. So my father came and requested Bhagwan to give permission to be shipped. Swami hesitated to give the permission. He said, wait, as usual. Then finally one day he told my father, tell him to use it in the 4th room. Swami did not know my plans, my floor plan of the clinic. But he said, tell him to use it in the 4th room. So we opened up the crates and found out that all the equipment was not 220 volts as I had ordered, but it was 110 volts to be used only in US. And this is what his hesitation was, to bring it to India and then find out the whole thing was wrong. So anyway, this is our Sai Center members from Syracuse. Last year in January, our devotees from US came to Prashant Nilayam as a group, about 100 people, and we were able to do multiple sevas in the Prashant Nilayam ashram. We're serving in the Nitya Annadanam canteen, and we had a photograph taken in front of the Samadhi. And this is what I was mentioning to you about giving. The family needs, including food and rent, 40%, children's education, 20%, retirement savings, 20%, and you leave for the kids another 10%, and you give for charity the 10%. Lastly, I want to sing a bhajan with my wife. Kindly follow. Know that the Lord is sweetness itself. Everything is a sign of His grace. He is the nearest, He is the dearest. Born in the world, know as Sri Sathya Sai. Hold on to Him as close as you can, knowing Him as an intimate friend. Knowing Him as an intimate friend. Know that the Lord is sweetness itself. Swami is your only friend. He has told me this not one time, but multiple times during the interview. Swami is your only friend. He is the only one who can lead you to peace and salvation. So trust in Swami, trust in Bhagwan. He will take you to in the right direction. Thank you. Jai Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. Thank you, Dr. Ravi, for such a ennobling and faith-inducing talk. Traversing the Chitravati river and Swami welcoming at the banks was an unforgettable experience. Horoscope, astrology, and many other things were foretold of your stay in India. But the divine Bhagwan had some other plans, and he allowed your dreams of America to be fulfilled. We all know Prashanti Nilayam, but Prashanti Trust is indeed the ultimate trust one can develop in Bhagwan. And the Prashanti Trust bylaws formed by Bhagwan bear an ample testimony to his divine grace. Bangalore to Mangalore, the dental college life, your experiences in Syracuse, America, and back to Prashanti Nilayam. Life has been a full circle. Your ability to dream and sing as a family bear excellent testimony to the grace of Bhagwan Baba. Upanayanam can be planned, but your Upanayanam was not even planned. But be it the Upanayanam or the Nayanam of Bhagwan, it was always on your life. We realize one thing from all your innumerable dreams and experiences, that Bhagwan may walk slowly amongst us, but his blessings and his presence is always there and unlimited. We just need to feel it. Thank you, Dr. Ravi, for such an ennobling session today. We all will be grateful to Bhagwan, and may he bless your family, Prashanti Trust, and all the Sai activities. I would like to thank the organizers of Samarpan for organizing this session. The next session of Samarpan will be held on October the 16th. Once again, Dr. Ravi, we are innumerably grateful for your experiences and faith-inducing talk. Jai Sai Ram. Thank you.